With that being said, on the other side of it, I think that there needs to be a little bit more context. I think that he was, and I don't want to come off as being disrespectful to Drew Brees because we both went to Purdue and we're both from Texas, but I feel like he was a bit tone deaf there. His comment, it's in and of itself, is not the problem. That's not the problem at all to me. The problem, and why I think that you're seeing a lot of his teammates, who are mainly African Americans, kind of turn their backs a little on him at this point, is because that was a utterly tone deaf comment to make for the context in which the question was asked. The question was asked of him as to whether he could see protests, kneeling, reemerge in the NFL like they did back in 2016. And he answered it almost, and I hate to say this, he answered it in a political way. And again, like I said, in the verbiage of what he said, I have no problem with what he said. It is accurate. It is an accurate thing to say for the majority of people in this country when you ask them about the national anthem. But in the context of that question, this was an opportunity for him to look at it to answer that in respect to, is this something that we now can understand is not about the anthem at all? It has nothing to do with the anthem. The anthem is only the setting, is only the backdrop for the silent protest of the kneeling or of the arm locking or whatever it may be, whatever teams chose different ways to do it back in 2016. We all pay attention to the kneeling, but really there were I think 3 different kinds of silent protests that were done during the national anthem that didn't include having your hand over your heart and standing at attention. Now, for me, if he answered that question, the ideal answer in my mind for him would have been, and I'm not saying that he should have said this, I'm just saying if it were me, I would have just came at it from, in his position, I would have said, look, we understand what's going on in the country right now. There's a lot of people in pain. There's a lot of people in pain due to things that are out of their control, such as issues of police brutality. There's a lot of pain that people are dealing with because of the results of these protests and the elements that have decided to take these protests as an opportunity to harm the businesses and harm the establishments that small business owners and corporations alike have built to enrich and to better the lives of the people in their own communities. And this is a time for us as Americans to unite, to come together, to, for once in the last decade, look at each other face to face and come to a realization that we can't do this divided. We can't do this in this polar climate. We cannot survive as a country if we continue to go down this path of you pick a side and you pick a team, and if you're not on my team, then you're wrong, because it just isn't that simple. There are so many things that we all agree on that we don't even realize we agree on. And if you showed us that we agreed on them in front of each other, we would argue about the fact that we agree on it, not even realizing that we're saying the same thing. It happens a lot. And it's now a time for people to look each other in the eyes and begin to discuss and just begin to talk about the fact that we need to first stop being so divided in how we think and stop pointing fingers at each other, because at this point, it doesn't even matter whether you're right or wrong. It doesn't even matter. Right or wrong be damned. Let's be Americans first. And then we can sit down and find middle ground on things that we don't see the same way. Because at the end of the day, we all want the same final conclusion. And that is to live a life in safety and live a life equally with equal opportunities to be safe, equal opportunity to prosper, and equal opportunity to bring up a generation that is going to come behind us, our children, into a world where they will feel like they have the same opportunity as the next person. And I know I'm long-winded here, but at the end of the day, it all boils down to the fact that when you're giving an answer to a question that could be a loaded question, you can't go wrong if you go through the route of solidarity. That's what we learned in football. You never throw your teammates under the bus. You never say anything that can draw a rift between you and your teammate, because he is the person you have to trust on Sunday to do his job. And that's the difference between whether you get paid and your family's able to eat or not. So when it comes, even if you know they're wrong, even if you know it was his fault on that play, you never tell that reporter that. You get behind your teammate. You say, you know what? We got to do better as a group. We got to do better as an offensive line. We got to do better as a receiving core. We got to do better as a team. So we give ourselves the best opportunity to go out there on Sunday and play our best game. That's what being unified means. When you pick a side, you know what Drew Brees said in his response. You know what that is to black people out there right now who are protesting? You know and even in myself, you know what that sounds like? Fuck off. That's what that sounds like, even though we know he's not saying that, but that is easily how it feels, because you have an opportunity to actually, with your influence, set a tone of empathy, and you chose to be selfish. And that's how black people will look at that. And that's why he's getting the heat he's getting.